Hi, welcome back. I was browsing through my older videos the other day and I realized that I miss doing my old school technique videos. And as I'm getting older, I'm obviously finding new products and new ways that will adapt to my skin as it gets older. Now, I didn't want to call this video, makeup for mature skin, which I've already done a video on that. It was years ago. But I kind of wanted to show you the products that I use and the methods that I use to combat those areas that I'm finding have more fine lines, wrinkles. And I know I got a lot of mamas on here. I know you guys like to tell me that you're old enough to be my mom, but I am in fact 32. I'm 32 years old now. So I've been on YouTube for well over a decade. And let's just face it, my skin is not what it used to be. So yeah, I just wanted to run you through kind of like an old school tip style video where I show you ways that you can really keep your makeup looking fresh and youthful. So that's what we're going to cover today. And the first thing, and this could possibly be the most important thing in this video. So if you are a skipper or you watch on 2X, definitely hone in on this first section because I think this is going to make the biggest difference in how your makeup looks on your skin. So first and foremost, we have to look at skincare prep. I would say 50% of your final look is going to depend on how you prep your skin and how you prep it accordingly to what your skin type is. Now, I have 3 examples here today to kind of represent what I want you to look for depending on your actual skin type. So we all know I have a normal to dry. Most of the time, it's just in the dry category. We're leaning into summertime, so sometimes it can revolve back to that normal dry state. But most of the time, I am dry and I am flaky, and it shows. It shows. So one of my favorite moisturizers, and this is just an all-around great prep moisturizer for makeup in general, especially if you do have mature skin, if you're in that 50+ arena and you just feel like you cannot get your skin to look youthful, this is such an amazing product. It's by InnBeauty Project. It is called the Extreme Cream. This is a phenomenal product if you have dry skin, if you have mature skin, if you need that rich kind of radiant boost underneath your makeup. This is one to look into, and it also does have firming properties. So each year a friend of mine, I do his mom's makeup for a local gala that they hold, and I hope Miss Beth does not mind me putting up her picture here. I'm gonna have to ask her before. But when this Extreme Cream came out, I used this on her, and it was the first time I used it on anyone other than myself. I knew it looked good underneath my makeup, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna use this on Miss Beth. We're gonna see how this goes. Her makeup was stunning. Absolutely stunning. Her skin, it just immediately gave her this radiant, healthy, lit from within, youthful look. And ever since then, I have trusted in this Extreme Cream to use as a makeup prep moisturizer. I don't use primer. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, but if you are normal to dry and you are looking for something that is rich, that's going to give you a youthful appearance, and that also has that firming property to it, I think this is one of the most beautiful moisturizers on the market. So especially for mature skin, I personally think the richer the better when it comes to your prep moisturizer. However, I realize some of you out there may not have dry skin. You may still be in that combination oily arena. So I have a couple of other recommendations for you. Both of these are very similar products. One, I would say, is going to be geared a little bit more towards that normal skin type, normal combo. One's going to be for that combination oily. So I have the Prequel half and half ceramides moisturizer. This is specifically marketed for anti-aging. It has peptides, it has ceramides in it. This is a very lightweight fluid formula, but I find that it hydrates the skin really well. I actually swapped the Extreme Cream and the half and half out daily. The half and half is currently my project pan, so I'm reaching for it a little bit more. It absorbs into the skin a little bit quicker than the Extreme Cream does, and it's obviously not as rich. So if you're someone that feels like you get enough shine through like a combination skin type, this is definitely a beautiful product to look into. It looks wonderful underneath makeup. If you are someone that is just downright oily and you do the bare minimum when it comes to your moisturizer or prep before your makeup, because you know you're going to have that angelic glow regardless, Laneige Cream Skin. Laneige Cream Skin is actually it's a toner and a moisturizer, but this is 100% fluid like I'll show you a close-up of this. I personally use this as my toner. I do not use this as a moisturizer. It is not heavy enough for me, but it looks beautiful on the skin. It's milky, it's glassy, and it does provide hydration. So this is a great option if you find that you are in that just full out combination oily skincare family. Now, some of you are probably like, Shelby, where's the primer? We would move into primer as the next step. Most of you all know I am a primer hater to my core. There are very few primers that I trust in and that I feel like are necessary to use with makeup. I am a 100% skincare as your primer gal. That's the hill I will die on. When you find the right prep product, when it comes to skincare prep or your moisturizer, I just personally do not think a primer is necessary, especially when we're talking fine lines and wrinkles. I've talked about this several times before. You can't cover a fine line. You can't cover a wrinkle. It's always going to be there. It's a matter of, do you want your fine lines and wrinkles to be flat and still noticeable, or would you like them to be radiant, youthful, glowing, graceful aging, if you will? That is why I would reach for something like this over like a silicone based primer, a pore filling primer. If you do have enlarged pores, that is like the one rare occasion where I trust in more of that silicone style primer, because I do think that that helps with smoothing and blurring. The same thing goes for something like acne scarring. Again, that's an exception where I think pore filling primers can be of benefit. But in most scenarios, I would recommend going for more of that like plump, juicy makeup prep as opposed to just trying to like blur the skin out. Let's embrace the skin. Let's not give this illusion that we have to have this totally blurred out effect to our skin or totally filled in look to our skin. You know what I mean? All right, so let's move into the makeup portion of this. So this concept is something that I have preached on my channel for years. I will link previous videos down below where I talk about foundation textures, what's appropriate for certain skin types. So when it comes to foundations and mature skin, so I'm talking if you do have those fine lines, if you do have those wrinkles, it's very important you look for a foundation that has a thinner consistency to it. Again, I will have videos where I talk about this down below, but the more pigment that your foundation contains, that's what gets stuck in fine lines and wrinkles. I don't think people actually sit down and think about this. It is the pigment that gets stuck in your wrinkles. So when people, used to come to me when I was a freelance artist and they'd say like, why does it look so cakey? Why does it settle my wrinkles? Well, it's probably because you're using a high pigment, thicker foundation type, or just a high pigment foundation in general. So I like to recommend thin consistencies. It's more of a matter of, do you want to enhance it in a negative way, or do you want to enhance it in a graceful way? And so that is why we are here today to discuss a little bit more on foundation textures. So I'm going to use what I think is the holy grail, is the epitome of the perfect foundation for mature skin or any skin that has wrinkles, fine lines, aging, and that's Estee Lauder's Double Wear Sheer. Not Estee Lauder Double Wear, although if you do have Estee Lauder Double Wear, the original, I am going to show you, like if you personally own right now a thicker or fuller coverage foundation, I'm going to show you how you can make that work for your skin. But this is just all around the it foundation, in my opinion. If you have aging skin, if you have skin that has texture to it, this simply will not enhance that. There's never been a case where I have used this and I've regretted it, especially when I've used it on other people who have a mature skin type. It sits so gracefully on the skin. It's thin, it's flexible. It works with the fine lines. So it's not going down in there and getting stuck. It almost has like this flexible consistency to it. It does have a light to light medium coverage to it, which I think is super appropriate for daily wear. It's just such a lovely formula. It's thin, it's breathable. You barely notice it on the skin. And I just think if we're talking about a daily wear your skin but better style foundation, nothing compares to this formula. It's just so beautiful. I've been using it for years, and it also has the longevity. So Estee Lauder Double Wear is really popular for its longevity. I think it was one of the first foundations on the market that people truly trusted in to last all day. And one thing that I love about the Double Wear Sheer is it still maintains that, but in a more wearable way. Okay, I just did half of my face so you can kind of see what coverage level you're looking at. And that glow that I have is not from this foundation, because this foundation is not a glowy formula. It's a very natural finish. You're not going to get a ton of that dewiness from this formula. That is the extreme cream that I have underneath, and it's just like that peekaboo youthful effect. It's okay. So let's talk about if you own something like the Estee Lauder Double Wear Original or a MAC Studio Fix foundation, something that has higher coverage to it. I'm going to use, this is actually a beautiful foundation by itself, but it is literally the only foundation in my collection right now that I would consider more of like a medium to full. And it's the Rituel de Fille 3-drop weightless serum foundation. This looks beautiful if you have mature skin, but 3 drops, that's quite a bit with with this foundation. It does have quite a bit of pigment to it. So what I like to do with heavier pigment foundations is take my moisturizer. I have demoed this several times. I'm going to use the Prequel half and half, and I'm just going to do a little drop of my moisturizer in with the foundation. You may have to experiment with this to see how much you need, but that's essentially going to give you a thinner consistency. It also kind of adds a little bit of extra hydration to your foundation formula. So this is what I like to do if I have a foundation that I think is just looking a little bit too thick, a little too heavy on my skin. And there's just something about adding skincare to your foundation that gives it this elevated look. I don't know what it is. I may have put a little bit too much of this Rituel de Fille on. This is the Rituel de Fille by itself. This was a forgotten foundation. I had it in my home collection and kind of forgot about it, but by itself, it is such a gorgeous formula. Yeah, look at how much I have left over. I probably could have just used 1 drop of the Rituel de Fille because yeah, you can see it's even a little bit more coverage than this side right now. Okay, I turned the brightness down quite a bit so you could get a totally unfiltered, less bright version of my skin. Around my nose is where I get dry patches constantly. I am flaky. It's not too bad today, but you can see the foundations that I chose to use don't have the opportunity to sink into those areas. Number one, because we have a nice hydration barrier underneath, but number two, the pigment level is not high enough to where it can cling at all. My biggest insecurity is my forehead. You will notice anytime I do a tutorial, I apply the least amount of product to my forehead. And that's because that's where I have obviously the most lines going on here. I'm scared of Botox. I can't commit to it. And so I constantly have lines up here, and the less amount of product that you have on an area that has indentations, lines, marks, the less opportunity those products have to, sink down and get stuck in between the lines. So you'll notice that I don't put a ton of product on my forehead ever. Okay, I just added a little bit of bronzer. I thought I would just show you how I would finish up this look in general. I've got a couple of other things to touch on, but something that I've loved doing as I'm getting older is waiting a little bit further into my routine to apply my concealer. So after I've applied my blush and my bronzer, then I go in and I kind of spot conceal. I just find it makes the look a little bit more cohesive. So I am going to do a monochromatic situation here today. I'm using my Makeup Forever Artist Pencil. It's Forever Walnut. This is a classic. I am going to use this on my lips and my cheeks because something about monochromatic lips and cheeks, it just looks healthy. It looks youthful to me. And I'm just always here for it. I'm going to top that off with my Kaja Plum Paloma lip gloss. These make your lips look so healthy, so juicy. I love them. Also, I am a firm believer that just adding a little bit of a lip oil, a lip serum, even if you don't like it, to your look can like knock off 5 years. Period. Like I'm going to die on that hill when you have a nice juicy glassy lip, it's just, it's giving youthful. Okay, so then I just take that same color I used on my lips, take a little bit on the back of my hand, and pick it up on my brush, and I use it as my blush as well. This was a product that I mentioned in my minimalist makeup collection, my capsule makeup collection. And if you thought I was just, you know, throwing products in just to be talking about them, it's like, no, I actually do use these in the same way that I'm recommending in those videos, because I recommended having a couple of these on hand because you can use them for your lips, you can use them on your face, and they're just so multi-purpose. But Wherever Walnut has been like a staple in my collection for years. I just think it's so beautiful. So here's where I feel like the concealer after your blush and bronzer really kind of helps to connect everything together. You can see I kind of have this area here that's looking a little bare right here. So what I like to do is go in with my concealer. This is Estee Lauder's Futurist Soft Touch Brightening. Lovely concealer if you have mature skin. I have nothing bad to say about this concealer formula. It is so beautiful, especially with the Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer. So what I'll do is kind of just take a little dot here, a little dot there. I try to be pretty cautious when it comes to, you know, like the smile line area, but I do tend to get redness here. So I just spot conceal, and then I do a little bit around my mouth because I'm always like rubbing up my nose or my mouth. So I tend to add a little bit there for a bit of extra coverage. And then, like I said, I don't like to use a ton on my forehead, but I always feel like there's a gap, like a disconnect, if I don't just put a little bit on the lower portion. Sometimes I just go in and tab with my finger as well for that under eye area. And what I'm doing is I'm just making sure I'm bridging that gap between my under eye and where I've already applied product. So to finish off the skin overall, you would think that I am totally avoidant of powder, but I'm truly not. There are certain scenarios where I do think powder can really help you, especially if you struggle with deep set lines underneath the eyes or smile lines. So I'm actually going to use the sponge or powder puff technique for this. So that's where you would literally take something like this. I'm using my Hourglass Vanish powder, and you would just pick up a little bit on your puff, your sponge, whatever, and press into those areas where you feel like you have the most lines. Now, I'm not talking a ton of powder. Like you can see, I picked up a little bit in the corner, and I'm softly just pressing it into the skin. And this really just gives a little bit more of that soft focus finish to the under eye area especially. I do like to add a little bit to my forehead. Like I said, that's where most of my lines are. And I feel like, especially on camera, you can tell the difference. But I'm not going in with a brush. I'm not going in with a ton on a sponge. I'm really just being very intentional with where I press this and where I apply this. Notice I'm not doing it around this area. I'm keeping my cheeks really nice and healthy looking. I don't want a totally flat finish. I always do my highlighter after my powder, and I love using Merit Day Glow. This is such a gorgeous option if you have mature skin. It's like the it highlighter I recommend if you have a mature skin type, because there's no glitter particles, so you're not going to risk having that like chunky glitter look. And it truly is more of like a skincare balm. It just has such a beautiful balmy texture to it, and it adds life back into the skin. Let's say you apply a little bit of too much powder, it's just going to give you that really beautiful, youthful, lit from within glow, carrying on with the theme of your skincare prep and just giving you that soft, kind of ethereal look. So I'm a firm believer that less is more when it comes to my eye makeup. As I get older, I naturally have more almond, hooded shaped eyes. And so that's kind of always been the case for me in general. This is going to be very subjective because I think it depends on your eye shape, how much space you have to work with. But for a really nice, crisp, clean look like this, I just love going in with something that's like 2 shades above my natural skin tone and that has a matte finish. Matte colors or matte shades on the eyes are going to give your lid a really smooth, clean, polished look. I'm going to use Bobbi Brown's Shore today. This is such a stunning mushroom putty tone. You're barely going to see it pop up on my skin. It's a little bit more noticeable in person. I feel like it doesn't translate as well on camera, but something like this to give you just that final sleek polished look on the lid. A little bit of mascara, and this is such a classy look. If you wanted to elevate the eye look just slightly and add a bit more definition, same thing. Going with a liner, couple shades darker than your skin tone. This is Makeup Forever's Endless Cacao. And I just really like to smudge right in between the lashes. You're not going to notice a difference at first, but when you compare it side by side to your eye that you have not applied yet, you will notice a difference. It just adds depth and a little bit more drama to that lash line. So you can see this side's a little bit more full, a little bit more depth happening. I do a little bit of mascara, of course. All right, I think that is it. This is just a daily classic look, great showcasing of these products that I wanted to bring to your attention. If you feel like you do struggle with your makeup as you get older, as your skin changes, as you're noticing more fine lines and wrinkles, this is just a look that I feel like is foolproof for me. And it's also a method or an approach I would take when working on more mature skin clients when I did freelance for nearly 10 years. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to have all of my videos down below where I've referenced topics of this nature before if you feel like you need more education, because I feel like this was just a quick kind of brief rundown on what types of products to use, how I use them, and what to expect and how they're going to look. So if you want a little bit more in depth, I will have those videos listed down below. I will have all of my product recommendations listed down below. I didn't want this to be a full-on product recommendation video, just generalize these are the style of products that you should be looking for, and I'll list a few different options in each category down below. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the final look. Let me know if this is something that you would wear daily and something that would work with your current routine. Definitely let me know if you try any of these products or these techniques, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.